Welcome back to another episode of the Positive Persistence Podcast. I am your host, Ian Bowen, and as you guys can see, we are back in our regular studio, thank goodness. So we're ready to rock and roll, and I am super excited to introduce you guys to Diandra, and her story is absolutely amazing. Now, her name is synonymous with excellence in the world of bowling and beyond. She's an accomplished professional bowler and a beacon of inspiration. Diandra's journey in the sport has been marked by passion, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to empowering the next generation of athletes. She's won numerous accolades and championship titles during her illustrious career, such as collegiate national champion, world champion, represented Team USA for 15 years. She's won over 70 international medals, named World Bowler of the Year 3 times, and she was inducted into the Bowling Hall of Fame at age 25. Beyond her competitive success, Diandra's impact extends far beyond the lanes. With her program of the same name that compiles all her life lessons that she shares to show you how to use your experiences, setbacks, and decisions and how they can help you shape your future. And she doesn't stop there. Using bowling as a vehicle for good, Diandra is also the founder of the Elite Youth Tour, which has inspired a new generation of bowlers to aim high and achieve greatness. Her story is a testament to the power of perseverance, vision, and the drive to make a positive impact. Diandra, so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Ian, that was an incredible intro. Thank you for all of that. I can't, sometimes when I listen to it, I'm just like, oh my God, I actually
did all that stuff.
I did that thing. So thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And let's talk.
Yeah, let's jump in because I feel that you have so much to share for our listeners and our viewers. And your story is packed with the name of the podcast, Positive Persistence. And if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of just start from the beginning because I like to dig in and kind of find out what makes the person that we're talking to. And that obviously starts back at childhood. So let's start at the beginning when you were a little girl. Can you tell us kind of what your childhood was like, what your upbringing was like, and how you got even started in the world of bowling? And I'm just geeked out that I'm talking to a world champion. Like
Thank you.
Don't get that opportunity very often.
Let me bring you back to 1985. I was 5 years old, and my grandma Betty bowled in a league just for fun, very socially, not competitively, but she loved it. And so she thought, I'm going to give my granddaughters a bowling ball so that they can love it too. Mm-hmm. And so I remember Grandma Betty giving us this bowling ball. My sister Cassie was 3 years older than me. We went for fun to Stardust Bowl 3 in Dyer, Indiana. We went to watch Grandma Bowl League on Wednesday nights with her friends. And in the beginning, we really started because it was fun. It was in the days of like no bumpers. There was no bumpers. So, there was a lot of gutter balls.
Bumpers.
Yeah. And so my grandma's like, oh, we should start a Saturday morning league. So then we started bowling our league when I was 5, 6, 7. And my grandma would be our scorekeeper, like hand scorekeeper. There was no monitors. There was no automatic scoring. People kept score. Okay. I know it sounds like
it's old school. Yeah.
It was a long time ago. So I just think back to those moments bowling Saturday morning league with my grandma keeping score for me and my team. And she would drive us to league every Saturday morning. And she would tell me on the way to bowling, Diandra, if you cry today, we're going to go home. And I was always like, well, I'm not going to cry. But then I would go to league and throw gutter after gutter after gutter after gutter. And it's frustrating. So then, I would cry. And then Grandma Betty would be like, if you don't stop crying, we're going to go home. And then I would stop crying because I didn't want to go home. And that story that she would tell me, it's an interesting story because it really showed who I was at a really young age. Because what that little girl could have done is literally anything else that didn't make her cry. But I wanted to keep showing up and I wanted to figure it out. And I wanted to figure out how to keep my ball on the lane. And so I just never gave up. at an age where it would have been really easy to. So
Sure.
that was 5. And then we started practicing more. My dad would always take us to practice, and there was a coach that was there on another lane, and he noticed my sister. At that time she was probably 12 and I was like 9.
Mhm.
And the coach, Mr. Dick Tucker, came up to my dad and said, your daughter is really good. I would love to coach her. And so my dad was like, oh, okay, because we were just doing it for fun. And
Yeah.
I was like not serious about it yet. Around 5, 6, 7, I was just having fun. And
Right.
then I saw my sister getting coached by this coach, and then I saw her winning. And I was like, well, I want to win. And I understood at a young age, you get out what you put in. And so
Right.
then I was like, well, maybe I should start taking it seriously with this coach. And so I did. And my sister won everything at a young age before I did. And she was my inspiration to see what was possible because she did it right in front of me. And, while I was like bopping around the bowling center playing video games, she
Yeah.
was on the lanes really taking it seriously. And then, there was this shift that happened when I saw what her hard work was resulting in. And I knew that I wanted to feel what it felt like to become a champion. And so then I did. I took it more seriously.
Hmm.
I stopped running to the pinball game, and I continued to learn at a young age. We would go to tournaments every weekend in middle school and in high school. My life looked different than most students. I would spend every night at the bowling center. You couldn't get a lane until 9:30 at night, and after the leagues were done.
Hmm.
And so my dad would go to work, he would come home, he would take a nap, he would take us. And I would go to school. My mom would make sure that we got our homework done, make us take a nap, get up. We would go to practice at 9:30 at night, which was totally normal for me as a kid. But I understand how not normal that is now as a mom. I'm like, oh my God, I can barely make it sometimes to 9:30 at night. And my dad was taking us to practice, and we would bowl until midnight on a school night every
And then
night.
get up and do it again the next day.
Yes. Yeah. And I missed a lot of football games, and I missed a lot of parties. And, a lot of people in school were like, wait, you're not going to be there. Why? You have a bowling tournament? There's bowling tournaments? Like, nobody quite really understood it, but my friends really supported it.
Yeah.
And I missed a lot and I sacrificed a lot. And I also learned that lesson at a young age, that in order to get to where you want to go, there's sacrifices along the way, and you have to be willing to make them. Right.
Oh
And
man, I'm so happy that you said that because, as you know, we have 6 kids, and some of our kids' friends listen to this podcast, and I've had the opportunity to coach some of those kids.
Mhm.
But having a world champion on the show and saying that you have to make sacrifices, that you're going to have to miss out on the fun things sometimes. You're going to have to miss out with hanging out with your friends, and you're going to have to put in the work. I think, hearing it from you who have achieved so much will mean so much more. But I think that for kids these days who are so unrealistic about their goals, like no, they have the goals, but they're unrealistic about the work that's going to take to
Mhm.
get there. They
I
want to
talked
be in the
about,
NBA, they want to
yeah,
be in
yeah.
the major leagues, they want to play football in the NFL, but they don't realize the work that it's going to take and the sacrifice it's going to take to get there.
You can't just wish it. And I talk a lot about that too. And my teaching is that you can't just think about it all the time. That's part of it. You should think about it all the time. But
Hmm.
what are you doing to set yourself up for that? And
Right.
sacrifices is a part of it. And you can ask your lovely wife, Dana, because she was, we were very close in high school, and you can ask her. There wasn't a lot of events that Diandra was at because she was bowling tournaments on the weekends. And did I miss it? Yeah, now they call it the fear of missing out, right? FOMO.
The
And
FOMO, you're right.
and so at that time, yeah, I wanted to be at the football games. I wanted my friends to understand me, but that was okay because I was really driven at a very young age. When I found
Yeah.
out that you could bowl in college, I was like, wait, what? I can go to college and bowl? There's scholarships. So My sister went to Wichita State University, and since I followed in her footsteps, everybody thought that I would too. They had a great bowling program. It was a great academic school. And I thought, you know what? Maybe this is the time that I break out of her footsteps, and maybe this is the time that I become Diandra. I make a different decision. And so I did a lot of research, and it was the first year that bowling was recognized as an NCAA sport in college. And University of Nebraska was offering it as an NCAA sport, which meant we were going to be treated like the football players at Nebraska. And if you know anything about college football, all they know in Nebraska is football. And so I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. So I went up to the coach and I said, I went up to the coach at one of my sister's tournaments, and I was a senior in high school. And I said, I'd love to inquire about some information on Nebraska. And he's like, really? Everybody thought I'd already made my decision that I would follow her there. And it was one of the best decisions that I made. And that's another life lesson is sometimes like the easy choice isn't the right choice. And so I made the hard decision to go to somewhere else in a new place with new people and a new coach that wasn't familiar to me or my family. And I took that risk, and it really paid off because we won 2 national championships. My sister, unfortunately, never won a national championship, and she was on a great team all 4 years that she competed in college. And so I got a full ride scholarship because of bowling.
That's amazing.
To an NCAA recognized college. And that just kind of shows you, and I sit next to people all the time on flights, and we just small talk, and they find out that I'm a professional bowler, and they're like, you can do that? And then I tell them that I traveled the world because I was on Team USA my freshman year of college for 15 years. And I get to see the most amazing places in the world because of bowling. And they're like, wait, because, there's this recreation side of bowling that everybody is familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our strength and our weakness as a sport is that everyone can do it at age 2 and age 102. And so everyone knows about bowling. It's the most participated sport in America, but they don't know that there's another level, that it goes beyond beer drinking league bowlers. There's a serious place out there for bowlers, and to be able to win world championships for my country in other countries, hearing our national anthem play is something I'll never take for granted, and that has really made me who I am because it wasn't always easy. This is what I say: everybody sees the end result. It doesn't matter what sport you're in. They see the star on TV, and they think to themselves, I want to be that, but I don't have that because they were just born that way. They're just great. They just woke up great. And I am here to tell everyone that you don't just wake up great, that you don't get to see the journey. You don't get to see the tears. You don't get to see the beating your head against the wall because you're frustrated or wanting to quit. You don't see that. You see the highlight at the end. You see the TV show. You see the greatness. And that didn't just manifest itself. In order to get to the greatness, you have to go through the journey, and the journey is not a straight line. As you know, it is a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of circles, and there's a lot of testing to see what you're made of. Yeah. And I encourage everyone listening to this to know that when it feels hard, to remember that it should. Because if it was easy, then everybody would be a champion.
Right. What can you say were the tools or maybe experiences? Because as you said just a minute ago, you said it wasn't easy. So what did you do when you were in those situations, whether it was getting started in the sport or competing as a collegiate athlete or as a professional athlete? Maybe your career wasn't moving in the right direction, or you were in a slump, or you were just up against it. How did you pull yourself out of that? What were some of the things that you did to get your mind right so that you could again achieve on a high level?
There's so many ways I can answer that. My first thought is it was really hard. It was really awesome being in my sister Cassie's footsteps, but I hated when people said, "Oh, that's Cassie's sister."
Oh, yeah.
And so early on, my first, I think, hurdle was, man, nobody even knows my name. All they do is look at her because she's great.
Right.
But how can, and people would introduce, they're like, "Hey, this is Cassie's sister." And I'd be like, "It's Diandra." Like I would make sure that I like looked them in the eyes and I'm like, well, I'm my own person. I am
Right.
so grateful for the lessons that she taught me and showed me. But how can I become me? And I think my decision to go to Nebraska was part of how I handled that. I'm just like, you know
Hmm.
what, I'm going to take a risk. And it's really interesting because I think back to winning my first national championship as a freshman at the University of Nebraska. Nationals was in Wichita. So they
Oh,
bowled.
wow.
Yeah, they bowled it. And it was just this like full circle moment of, oh my gosh, my team is in the finals in Wichita and we won. And the first person that ran to me on the approach while I was wearing Nebraska on my back and she was wearing her Wichita State jacket was my sister. And we have this really beautiful picture that the photographer got of her hugging me. And I get like emotional thinking about it because that was the moment I became Diandra because I finally had done something that she hadn't done. And I knew that I earned that.
Yeah.
But I knew it wouldn't have been possible without her. And so I have her to thank for that moment. But I think that was the first hurdle to like, okay, how can I prove myself? But the second hurdle, and it was a really big one,
Hmm.
and it's something that I think a lot of young athletes deal with, is really being misunderstood. And when I was on a team, you think you're on a team, everybody's in it for the same reason. I thought everybody was coming from the same place that I was coming from, where this great deal of respect. We're going to do this together. I want you to be your best. I'm going to be my best. And we're going to win this big thing that we're working towards every single day.
Hmm.
But not everybody subscribes to what you subscribe to. And as you know, because you have kids,
Hmm.
there's a lot of kids or college kids out there that they're insecure.
Sure.
And I learned, I didn't know it when it was happening, that it was insecurity. I didn't know until I could reflect back on these moments. But it was really hard for me in college because I came from a good family that was really supportive. I was very grateful for what I had, but I did recognize that not everybody had it. And so I think that a lot of people have an insecurity about that, like, oh, Deandra has it all. And then when you start winning, they make excuses for you,
Mm.
that they don't
Right.
just give you the credit because you're great. They're like, they give you a reason why, oh, well, she won because of.
Right. They
And
give you a
then,
reason why they're not great.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember times calling home crying. Like, I don't understand. I just don't, mom and dad, I just don't know why they don't like me. And all I am is myself authentically 100% of the time.
Hmm.
And they are calling me fake because I'm so kind, but that's actually me. And so, how do you prove to somebody that you are being authentic when all you are is ever authentic and
Hmm.
genuine? And so, that's a really hard place to be. And I had a choice. I could become who they said I was, or I could just keep showing up like me authentically, knowing that that's the hard choice, but that's the choice I made. And fortunately, I met my husband my freshman year of college. And so I had him to be there for me, to show me that there was nothing wrong with me.
Right.
It wasn't me. Like, we can all do better, right? But in these moments that people had issues with me as a person, and I didn't realize that then at all, but I realized it later, that it had actually nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with them
With
and their
them. Yep.
insecurities. And
Yep.
they're like, I was so happy. They hated that.
Right.
I had a great boyfriend. They maybe didn't. I came from a good family. I was accused of getting special treatment on my college team. I didn't even understand what that meant. But then I thought, wait, if special treatment means that I show up early for practice and I stay late for practice and I required to get all of my questions answered by my coach, then yeah, I guess I got special treatment. But you know what? You could have too. So don't tell me that I got special treatment and I went above and beyond because I wanted to be great when you could have had that same treatment. But when you're a kid in college, you don't get it. And
Yeah. You
all
don't
it
see
is
it like
is
that.
it's a heartbreak. It's a, why are they making my life so difficult when all I want to be is great for them on my team? And so it was hard. It was even hard on the Team USA level. You'd think this is the pinnacle team of our sport, but everybody's coming from greatness. And I dealt with a lot of things there. I went to world championships with teams that didn't believe I should be on the team. And it got back to me and I found out about it. And so I have vivid memories of sitting on my very first condo on the floor in front of my refrigerator
Wow, that's
and
crazy.
crying into my hands right before I was going to leave for this world championship because I knew that my team didn't think I should be on the team. And so then how do you show up as a champion when your back is against the wall and people are rooting for you to fail?
Right.
And that's when you find out what you're made of. And so I sucked it up and I got up and I dried my tears and I went to that world championship and I brought my authenticity and I brought my kindness and my positivity and I tried to let go of what I had heard and I won. I won the Masters at the World Championship, and that's a singles event that I then won 2 more times at the World Championships. I was the only one to ever repeat in the Masters gold in the World Championships. And
That is
so
amazing.
sometimes, and people, I remember receiving my medal and I remember crying on the gold medal podium.
Mhm.
And people probably thought I was crying because I was so happy. I won the gold medal in the World Championships. I was able to represent Team USA and on such a high stage. And
Yeah.
maybe it was a little bit because of that, but mainly it was because of what I knew, but I overcame to get there.
Right.
And so I was crying because I was so proud that, I faced a really difficult situation and figured it out. And everything, and I tell my kids this now, everything is figure outable. When it feels hard, when you're confused, when you don't know which way to go, don't let that move you towards not doing it.
Yeah.
Let it move you towards figuring out how to do it. And so in my hardest moments, I came from a place of, I got this and I'm going to figure this out. And I know it feels hard, but I'm going to just keep plugging.
Where do you feel that strength, that confidence came from? That you were able to summon that and walk tall against the rain when it was coming down?
Man, that's such a good question that I don't get asked a lot. And, I think it really stems from my grandma Betty, the one that got it started in the first place. And she wasn't competitive at anything, but she had the most amazing attitude. She was always positive, and she went through every single type of cancer you can think of. And she could have been the one that was bitter at the world because why me? Why me? She never was. She always had positivity and she always came from a place of kindness. And when I called home and I called her when I was out traveling the world, and I would call her and I would say, Grandma, I'm just, I'm doing okay. I'm trying my best. And she's like, no, you're going to do it. Say you're going to do it. And she would make me say it to her. And, the first time I said it, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And she's like, no,
Yeah.
say you're going to do it. And I get like choked up thinking about it because that works. Even when you're unsure, if you can trick yourself in your brain
Yeah.
into saying like you're going to do it, you're going to become what you think about. My
Yes.
first coach of Team USA
Absolutely.
said a quote to me when I was before I was on Team USA. I went to a camp he was at, and he said, "Be careful what you think about because it might come true." And at that time, I probably didn't really truly understand it, but man, I do now. Because you think you always get bad luck, you're going to get bad luck. You think you're the luckiest person in the world, you're going to be more lucky. And man, she convinced me to say it to myself, and then I believed it, and then I did it.
Yeah.
And so I think that sense of positivity and the knowing that I could do it stemmed from Grandma Betty and her outlook on life. It wasn't even in a competitive nature. It was a life skill that she had and it was instilled in me. And man, I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful for that lesson.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That kind of dovetails into a quote that I heard you say, and I kind of want to ask you about this because I saw it on one of your Instagram reels, and you were getting interviewed after you'd won the 2012 major tournament. and you were asked about not winning in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, it's our failures that make us succeed. And I would love to hear kind of if you could remember back in that moment, like what did you mean by that when you were telling this interviewer that you were almost glad that things didn't go the way you had planned in 2007 because it set you up for success in 2012?
That was such a big life lesson that I will never forget how it felt in 2007 when this particular tournament, we don't have a lot of major tournaments on our bowling tour, but this was one of them. And this, it was interesting because when I graduated college in 2003, I was ready to go out on the tour. And then I looked around and the tour folded that year, the professional women's bowling tour. I grew up watching on TV. I had all these role models and I was finally done with college. And then it was gone. And that was something I had to overcome because I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? But, Team USA filled that void for me. But in 2007, the tour still wasn't back, but they were able to put this big, huge, major event on. And so it was sort of like one of my only chances to win a professional title because there was no professional tour in my peak. And so I crushed it all week. It was 15 games of qualifying. I was the number one seed. And then it was double elimination. You bowl 3-game match against 1 versus 64, 2 versus 63. Didn't lose a match. I outbowled everybody in the building. And I felt like I had already won before I made the TV show. And then I'm on the TV show and it's live. It's the first time I ever bowled on live TV. And they were running behind schedule. And I heard the production crew say, we need to keep this going and we need to speed up the pace. And I'm so kind. I was like, okay, let's hurry. I was the last match because the number 5 seed bowls the number 4 seed. The winner bowls the 3 seed. The winner bowls the 2 seed. And then the winner bowled me. Right. And so I was the last match at the end of the show. And I was bowling one of my bowling idols. She was like an incredible bowler. She was on Team USA as well. And when I got out on the show, I literally made every mental mistake in the book. And I prided myself on having a strong mental game. I read the books. I talked to the psychologist, the sports psychologist. I understood it. I was even starting to teach it. And then I literally made every single mistake. I rushed. I was never myself. I was thinking about all the people watching at home and I don't want to mess up. And I was distracted. I missed spares. I literally did all but fall on my face. And then it was over because it goes so fast on TV. And then I was watching this tiara being put on Kelly Kulik's head that I thought I deserved. And because I outbowled everybody, but I lost that match. And I was mortified. First of all, I bowled a really bad game on TV live. Second of all, I did all the wrong things and I didn't follow the books. I didn't do any of it. And then I had to go right into another major world tournament the next day. I had to show up to go to the World Ranking Masters tournament and I was heartbroken. And so I showed up at this tournament and my coach was my Team USA coach and she looked at me and I was always strong and unemotional. Mm-hmm. And she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I actually don't think that I am. I was embarrassed and mortified and disappointed. And my heart literally felt like it broke.
Yeah.
And I had to compete right away. And I remember being so distracted when I started. There was like this huge screen that showed the scores of everybody. And I remember like after the first 2 games, I was like on towards the bottom. And I'm like, oh my God. And my mom was with me, my poor mom. There's nothing you can say to me. There's nothing you can say to somebody when they are feeling that way to make it better. There's just not. And so I didn't actually know how I was going to flip the switch there. Then 3 days went by in the tournament and I woke up and something happened. And I was like, I'm going to be okay. Because sometimes you just need time. Sometimes you just need time to heal the heartbreak. And from that moment on in the tournament, I was myself and I gave myself grace and I was able to let go of what was. And I won the World Ranking Masters. And so that was a really powerful lesson. But then I found myself on that same TV show years later. And I said to myself, this time I was coming from the number 3 spot on the TV show. And I said to myself, I'm not going to do any of what I did the first time around. I'm going to look around, enjoy the moment. I want people to watch me bowl and see how much I love this sport. I am going to stay down in my shot at the line and post my shot. I'm going to look at my target and make sure I watch my ball roll over it. I'm going to feel a little bit lucky, not going to try to be perfect. And I won. And I won because I lost.
You won because you lost before. And you were
Yep.
able to use that to propel you forward to succeed.
And that's hard to see in the moment, right? It's hard because now that I have this elite youth tour with all these kids competing on a high level, I see the tears and I take them aside and I talk to them about these moments. And I'm like, I know it feels really hard right now because nobody likes to lose, but this moment, remember it because it's going to be the reason for the future win. And until that happens and you get it, right? And I'm sure you've felt that in your life.
Yeah. Until you understand, that I'm feeling some pain right now, I might as well use this and get some good out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was reading one of your quotes from the end of last year, and I'm gonna read it here to you. And the last sentence really kind of sums up what you just said. But it said that my word for 2023 was impact. There are so many magical moments, like my Hall of Fame induction and the Elite Youth Tour moments. It was magical and also hard. The end of the year brought the hardest moments of my life. I'm proud of my grit, resilience, and optimism. I'm proud that I faced it all with tears in my eyes and courage in my heart. Some years are there to show you what you're made of. And I think that kind of sums up what you just said. Like some of the hardships you go through are there for a reason. And depending on how you see them, you could be like your grandma, who is positive and always thinking about the best outcome, or you could be the negative, woe was me, why is this happening, the sky is falling, right? It's always up to you. It's your choice to choose.
It's your choice. That's the key word. And so many people walk around like they don't have a choice. That I just get bad luck. Nothing good ever happens to me, or no, I don't have it. And instead of empowering yourself and realizing that you get to choose your attitude, positive persistence.
It's an amazing concept, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
get to choose every morning when you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose what kind of day it's going to be, what kind of success you're going to have. And you're right. And talking to yourself is so powerful.
And I can tell that we share a lot of things in common, and that you come from that place of positivity. What was it always that way for you? Was that just innate?
I think so, because this is the way that I was raised. I was an only child, and I was always seeking my father's approval, which was very
Validation.
difficult for me to get. Yes, validation, which is something I still seek today, which is still part of the driving force of what I do. But it was always about pushing forward. And if that obstacle came, it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now to overcome the obstacle? Not when the obstacle comes, was it, well, what am I going to do now? Now I'm stuck. I can't do this. That was never an option. It was always like you said, you figure it out. The feeling of success tastes so much sweeter on the other side of adversity when you know that you put the work in to achieve that success by going through that adversity, by going through that hardship. And now you have that. Now you have that in your back pocket for the next time hardship comes. Like, okay, I've been here before. I've done this before. I'm going to use all of the hard stuff that I went through last time to help me get through this time.
Don't you think it's hard now with the day and age that we live in, with social media and with these kids that are so used to instant validation and
Hmm.
instant answers and instant, and so everything is so easy and quick that they expect success to be too.
Yeah,
And to be able to explain to them that you don't get to have that by just wishing for it. But
absolutely.
here's the road that you have to take. Do you want to take it?
Right.
And I think it's just really hard because right now our society is so used to very quick results.
Yes.
And this is not a sprint. I don't care what you're trying to be better at in your life. It's a journey. It is a marathon. It is showing up when you don't feel like showing up. It's going to practice when you're tired. It's
Yes.
asking the right questions.
Yes.
It's finding the right resources. It's like this ongoing, and it's how I live my life now, even though I'm not in the same place that I was 10 years ago competitively. I still bring those things with me in my life, whether it's my Elite Youth Tour nonprofit
Hmm.
or this, new business I just started, the Bowlers Agency, or being a mom. Like all, it's just a champion's mindset, essentially.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly it. It is a champion's mindset. Yes. Understanding the work that it's going to take, not only to get you to where you want to be, but then to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
That's another lesson that kids need to learn is like, it is super hard to become the best or to win that championship or to make that team that's going to win the championship. But it's even harder that once you won, not to rest on your laurels. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
to continue to put the work in and understand that now the work is going to be even harder than it was the first time for you to
I say
stay on
that.
top.
Listen, I say that all the time to my some of the kids that bowl my tour are national champions. They have started at 8 years old in my tour, stayed in it, and have become so great. And at a young age, I told them that it's easier when you're the underdog.
Yeah.
I was the
Yes.
underdog at a young age because everybody watched my sister. And so it was kind of easy for me to like be under the radar, get some wins. But then once you do have a name and people are watching you, that pressure feels really different on your shoulders.
Yep.
The expectations are different for yourself and the expectations you think other people have for you. And so now you have to manage all of that, whereas before none of that existed. And so once you get there, and I just said it the other day to a bowler, I'm like, you, when you reach the top or when you keep leveling up, it's going to get harder. And you have to know how to manage that. And the mental
Hmm.
game in bowling is very crucial. And, everybody wants a stronger mental game, but nobody's doing the work to get it. They're just like talking about it and
Yeah.
think that it's going to manifest itself. And it doesn't in any sport. You have to do the work. And you do the work by doing the research, by understanding how your brain works,
Yeah.
by understanding how to breathe, how to manage expectations and other people's expectations, and focus and concentration and meditation. And, like you have to do that work. And a lot of people I have found don't want to do that
They
work,
don't want to,
but they want the greatness.
yes. Yes.
You too? You in your space?
They don't want to put the work in, but they want the fruit of the labor that they don't put in.
Yep. It doesn't work like
It
that.
doesn't work like that. And you are so right going back to what you said before that like social media and you see the end product of this person who has all the success or keeps winning or is on top of their game, but you don't
You
know
don't
that
see the
they're at
journey.
the bowling alley at 9:30 at night and bowling
Exactly.
until midnight and then getting up and going to school the next day and then doing it all over again and missing out on high school activities and hanging out with their friends, and you don't see the sacrifice that that person takes. And then once you do see that and you understand that, some people are like, yeah,
Not for me.
I'm not gonna put the effort in because I don't think I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And that's why there's very few champions.
Yes. Yes.
But it is a choice. And that's what the cool
Hmm.
thing is. I always tell kids, I'm like, you get to choose how good you want to be in anything. It's not going to just happen. You have to set yourself up. You have to do the work. And I can tell you what it takes. But you actually have that choice to, I truly believe anybody at any level, you could draw it up and you could reach that champion stage in whatever it is that you're working towards, because it is a choice. And when I didn't feel like practicing, I would think about those girls that I was going to meet in competition and how they were probably practicing,
Yes.
and I didn't want to lose.
Yep.
So I was showing up because when I saw them, I wanted to be above them. I wanted to be more polished and more refined and sharper. And you don't get that by thinking about it.
That's
I know
right.
visualization does play a role in this journey, but it's not
Sure.
all of it. So you can't just sit home and think about it.
No, you actually have to, yes, put the work in. It sounds cliche, but it is true. I mean, that's just
It's true.
facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just facts. So you have so much experience and so much insight and an incredible mindset from all the things that you've gone through in your journey of becoming this world champion bowler. And I know that you have put all this experience and all of this knowledge into actual programs and tools to help people. And
Yeah.
yes, not to use a pun here, but it is framed up by the sport of bowling, but it's so
Mm-hmm.
useful in so many other areas of
Mm-hmm.
life. So, can you tell us a little bit more about those programs that you've actually created from your own life story?
Yeah, when I graduated college, I was able to travel the world. I didn't have a lot of time to think about what I was learning when I was learning it. But when life started to slow down and I decided to become a mom and just kind of like pull back a little bit, I all of a sudden was able to reflect on my career and realize that, man, bowling has taught me everything that I need to know in life. Bowling has been my life coach. And so, how can I take these really important lessons and pass them on to other people? And so, I never had time. I was so busy doing all the things. And then I was a mom and I still was competing. And was overloaded. My Elite Youth Tour takes up a lot of time. But then COVID hit. And
Oh,
then
COVID, yes.
everybody talks about all the bad things about COVID. But the one good thing that I pulled from it is that I all of a sudden had a lot of time
Mhm.
because we couldn't leave our house. I live in Chicago, and it was, most of the world was in their house. And so
Lockdown, yeah.
finally, I found myself in this opportunity of like, wow, I can put my head down and build something in this time. And again, me being the positive person that I am, instead of woe is me, of course, everybody was worried about the state of the world and it was scary because nobody had the answers.
Mhm.
I used it as an opportunity. And I thought, well, I'm going to find a way to use this for good. So I hired a leadership psychologist to help organize all the thoughts in my brain that were leadership driven. And she really helped me create this curriculum based on my life lessons that I've learned. And then I decided in that time, still, we were in our house, I was going to launch it. And so I put it online and I was like, Beyond the Lanes is now this place where you could go it's essentially personal development. And people came and I was able to teach it. And then I started packaging little digital products like Grit Lab, which is, like, in order to become a champion, you have to be gritty. What does that mean? I always relate it to like I feel like Chicagoans are gritty. Why? Because first of all, living in any big city is tough. Our winters have made us gritty.
They're no
the
joke.
snow the all of the things, the politics, like all the things we have to overcome. How in order to become a champion, you have to have grit. And so what does that mean?
Right.
So I packaged a digital product where it's just, go at your own pace, go at your own speed. Also, goals lab, everybody wants to reach their goal, but they don't have a plan. And unless somebody teaches you the plan, likely not going to happen. And
Yeah.
so I did a lot of research and a lot of work in goal setting. And so I have packaged that into Goals Lab. And I have this mindset reset, which, that is really talking to those that want to have a better mental game and self-awareness
Mhm.
and time management and literally all the things that go into building a champion's mindset beyond the lanes. Like I can help you be a better bowler. I can help you strike more. I can help you get more 10 pins, but none of that matters if you don't have it here.
Right.
And you, in order to have it here, you have to be taught it. And so
Yeah.
I put together Mindset Reset, which is a program. It's a year long. Every 2 weeks, they get a new email with worksheets and videos and my teachings. And it's a community of people that want to do the work. And so I'm excited to see what's next because I feel like, I always have these ideas and I always want to teach, and I'm honored to do it.
That's awesome. And I think that that is so appealing to people because it's not often you get to actually peek into the mind of a world champion athlete, right? And like you're allowing people to go under the hood, as it were, and kind of see what has made you tick and helped you to succeed on such a high level.
Yeah, they're all my secrets.
And they're all your secrets and tips, all the things that made you you and made you able to succeed. I think that's incredible and super valuable. That's awesome. So on that note, let's let our audience know where they can find out more about you and your programs.
Yeah, beyondthelanes.com. You can go and you don't have to be a bowler to learn and to grow through it. I've actually had a lot of non-bowlers take some of these courses and get a lot from it. Right now, I am in the midst of moving some back end of my website. So I'm moving it to a new platform. Okay. So it might look a little weird for right now, but beyondthelanes.com, Grit Lab, Goals Lab, Mindset Reset. My Instagram is my name, Diandra Asbaty, and Facebook, Diandra's fan page, Diandra Asbaty fan page. You can find me on Facebook. Just Google my name. So I'm out there. I'm easy to find. And I have really enjoyed watching everything that you've been posting, and it's inspiring to me. So keep doing what you're doing too. And this positive persistence, love the podcast, love your story. And, I think that we need to continue to tell our story because then other people realize they have a story and then they should tell it.
Yes.
And so it's just this thing that just keeps going, and we're paying it forward, and the world needs more of that.
Absolutely. And I think that, it's important for us not only to keep telling our stories so people realize that they have their own story, but also to realize that you and I we're regular people. We're totally just humans, right? Who don't have comic book superpowers, but have been able to achieve some amazing things because of our mindset, because of our work ethic, because of some of the things that we value and hold dear to success. And other people can do that too. People can do that too.
I tell my youth tour that a lot too, that I was just like them. I was traveling to youth bowling tournaments. My parents were taking me every weekend, and I was showing up with the hopes of winning and having what it takes, and realizing that I don't, and going back to the drawing board. I'm like, I was just like you. And I remember being 12 years old thinking I want to be one of the best bowlers in the world, and actually believing that I could. Somehow I believed it. And then in my 20s, I was 3 times the World Bowler of the Year. And so literally it could be you. You need to not be afraid to dream, and you need to start saying, why not me? Instead of why me?
Yes.
Why would this happen to me? But instead of saying that, you say, why not you?
Right.
It could be anyone.
I love that. Yes. Why not me? Why not? Man, it's good stuff. That is awesome. Well, Diandra, I want to thank you for joining us today on the Positive Persistence podcast. I know that you are a super busy person, so I don't want to take up too much of your time today, but it was such a joy and honor to be able to talk to you and learn more about your story, and thank you for sharing that with us and all of our viewers and listeners.
Thank you. I feel like we could talk for days. Maybe we should do this again. We'll do it again. Season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We have a lot more to unpack. For sure.
We do. And I appreciate you inviting me on, and I am leaving feeling inspired. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank all of our listeners and our viewers for joining us on another episode of the Positive Persistence podcast. If you'd like to hear more of what you heard today, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the podcast. And you can find more positive persistence on my website, ianbowen.net. And on the website, you can also check out the blog that is full of more useful information and inspiring stories. And also make sure you check us out on our Positive Persistence social. So once again, I want to thank Diandra Asbaty for joining us. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you to the audience for joining us for another episode of the Positive Persistence podcast. Once again, I am your host, Ian Bowen, reminding you to stay positive, stay persistent, and remember, mindset is everything. We'll see you next time.